With winter break just around the corner, I have some suggestions of how to make sure you're productive during these next few weeks before the spring semester begins. And so I'm not talking about productivity in concerns to academic writing or publishing or anything like that, but more how to organize your teaching life in order to make sure you have a great start to the next semester. So just a few tips and we'll get started right now. Hey there, it's Erica from Ever Educating, and I just want to talk a bit today about how to make sure you start your next semester off on the right foot in regards to teaching by doing a few activities during this winter break. So you might still be grading at this point, but once you finish that up, I suggest doing these few activities. And so the first activity I suggest is to go through and look at everything you've written in your teaching journal throughout the last 16 or so weeks. Hopefully you've been keeping one. If not, I do have a blog post about why you should keep a teaching journal and how you can keep one, what to put in there. But basically, take an afternoon and sit down and just write out, if you don't have a journal, what do you think went well and what went poorly? What can you improve upon as far as your teaching style goes, your reading list, the style of each of your classes in class and during homework activities. Just get a sense of, okay, looking back, this is what I've accomplished and this is what I want to change going forward. Okay, so you want to do that while it's still fresh in your mind. So this should be one of the first things you do during winter break. I also have a blog post about teaching reflection questions to answer at the end of the semester. And so I'll make sure and link that below as well. And I have kind of a follow-up to that coming up soon in a video. So if you want to make sure not to miss it, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. It should be up in a couple weeks. Once the semester is fully over, you've already submitted grades to the registrar's office, go ahead and go into your computer and look at all the files that you've downloaded and that you've maybe organized, maybe haven't organized, related to teaching this past semester. And so you want to go through them and figure out what you want to keep, what you want to delete, how can you move things around or organize them. And so I'll kind of show you my screen and give you a few ideas of how you can do this organization. But I also have a blog post about how to organize digital files and create a filing system if you're interested in that. I do have some free templates as well as part of my resource library. So I'll link that below too. Okay, so let's kind of head into my screen to kind of show you a few ways that you can organize your materials and what I mean by doing this throughout the next couple weeks before the next semester begins. So here's one way you can organize your files to keep it really simple. I have here in my favorites bar just a folder called Grad School, and that's also located in my Google Drive folder as well. But inside Grad School, I have these two folders, so the classes I've taught and then the courses that I took as a PhD student. And so for each one, I have it slightly different. For classes taught, I have the academic year, and for PhD courses, I have each semester instead. So I did 2 years of coursework, and then I audited a course in my third year. And then in my classes taught, I taught for 5 years while at ISU. So inside each folder, you'll see I only taught one type of course in my first year and in my second. But then in the remaining years, I taught different courses. So in my next two, I taught one course a semester because I was also part of the writing program leadership team. And then in my last year, I taught 4 courses in total. So in this one, you can kind of see, my first one is still unorganized, but in the rest, I basically created folders that make sense for me. So 101 is a writing course, which involves a lot of little parts in each unit. And I have all my assignment sheets here, and then miscellaneous resources. And then, my literature courses have different folders for them. And so you can just go through and decide what folders work best with all the files that you've collected throughout the semester. And then for my PhD courses, very similar. Like I said, I have each semester, and then inside the courses that I took, and then miscellaneous resources that I, had to just remind myself they're part of the PhD stuff I've done, but not in a specific course. And so again, up to you to decide what folders to add into each of these going forward. But I just feel that having them all organized makes it easier to look back and, if a couple years later you're writing your dissertation and you realize, oh wait, I took this course that had these resources I could use, where is that? It's easy to find because you have this folder system already set up for you. So I definitely recommend doing this. And again, I have a blog post on this topic of creating file names and such, which I'll link in the description box below. Now, what do you do if you haven't taught yet? So I know some programs have that you either TA or maybe you work at the Writing Center through the first semester of your program, and then you start teaching during the second. So maybe you've never designed a course on your own before. So if that's the case, I do have a free workbook that's over 60 pages that basically talks about how to design your first week of class. And so that goes over designing a syllabus, designing your assignment sheets, going over how to create a course schedule that encompasses, 16 weeks per se of the semester, along with doing a self-assessment activity with students and icebreakers. And so I have all those topics that are covered in the workbook, and I also have both a video series and a blog post series on that topic as well. So it's all kind of together that I did at the beginning of last semester. So those links will be in the description box below too, okay? So my recommendation is go through it as soon as possible and just kind of do it a little bit each day since you have time before your next semester begins to really start planning out, your reading list if you haven't done so already, and also how you're going to organize, your week by week, day by day lessons, and what policies do you want to have in your classroom, etc., etc. So if you haven't taught before and you're looking for a more robust resource, of course, I have plenty of videos at this point on my channel about teaching, but I also have that particular series as well and workbook that I really recommend trying out. So to recap, the 3 things I recommend doing during this break is, organizing your files, reflecting on your past semester, and if you're going to be new to teaching in the spring, then definitely going through some kind of resource for, designing your course if you haven't done so already. I know orientations don't tend to happen or be very long in between the fall and spring. So, I do have resources for you, and definitely subscribe to this channel if you want to make sure not to miss any new ones. And you can see my past videos related to teaching as well, trying to give you some ideas and some resources to use, in the spring. Okay? If you have any questions about teaching, you can always comment below. Or if you have your own suggestions on how to be productive in between, the semesters or maybe your trimesters, then I'd love to hear about them in the comments below. Okay? I'll see you next week.